The door closed of the registration centers for Venezuelan migrants have been closed. Minister of National Security Stuart Young said during the course of today, the number of migrants processed crossed the 15,000 mark. Earlier today, in the lower house, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said the figure as of Thursday, 13 June, 10:27 p.m. stood at 13,933.
I will provide the exact number of persons registered in this process once we have compiled the information, and we will also provide the breakdowns as to how many men, women, children. This registration process that was a well thought out and implemented process that is now a success also allowed us the opportunity to gather intelligence. Part of our registration process was that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was able to interrogate and to interview persons.
Minister Young said he has signed an order that says that Trinidad and Tobago now require visas for Venezuelans to enter this country. This takes effect from Monday. He added that the process has been a success and that there were no crowds outside the registration centers. Minister Young said despite reports that Trinidad and Tobago's borders are not secure, he said they have been turning away vessels from entering this country. Well, Ian Wayson was at the news conference today. Ian, what other information was shared at the press conference?
Well, at the press conference today, the minister, after hailing the registration process as a success, he indicated that there have been no injuries or incidents at any of the registration venues throughout Trinidad and Tobago. He said that during the process, the Coast Guard, they continued to turn back people from coming in to Trinidad and Tobago. He says the government will continue to do what it can for the best of Trinidad and Tobago. He commented also on the protests that were going on outside of the Oval last evening, and as well as the Hyatt Regency where the parliament is housed. And of course he said that those who stood up the protests were actually paid to do so, hinting it was politically motivated.
Oval, or the Queen's Park Oval rather, when the gates there closed at 5 p.m.
Now, as you see behind me, there are no more persons waiting on the pavement or at the gates of the Oval to get into the Queen's Park Oval. There's a heavy police presence. What we were told is that all the persons who were waiting outside here a little earlier today were allowed access into the Oval. They are seated and they are waiting there to go through with the registration process. But even as the gates closed, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith showed compassion to a few of the Venezuelan migrants who began the registration process earlier in the day and may have been caught outside of the Queen's Park Oval after the 5 p.m. deadline. Commissioner Griffith made it clear that now that the registration amnesty is over, the police will not be embarking on a witch hunt, but will intensify operations in specific areas.
And we have intelligence pertaining to persons of interest involved in human trafficking, sexual exploitation, abuse of minors, and persons who have been aiding and abetting and instrumental in bringing in illegal drugs, weapons, and also that of human trafficking. If anyone does not have that registration card, does not have that documentation, as I said, if you remember the days of National Lottery, if you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance, they would be held and they would be deported.
The police commissioner said the focus now would be to continue efforts to secure T&T's maritime borders. Karen Kozia-Phillip, TTT News.
In San Fernando, reporter Janine Brown tells us that many of the Venezuelan migrants were turned away disappointed.
This is the scene outside the Achiever Banquet Hall at Duncan Village, San Fernando, where you can see behind me there are hundreds of Venezuelan nationals, many of whom have been waiting for days to be a part of this process, and they've just received the disappointing news that they will not be allowed to register. An official came outside just about an hour after the gate was scheduled to be closed to let them know that they will not be a part of the process. She did apologize, saying she cannot make any promises, but there must be a cutoff point. Now, of course, that saw the disappointment in the faces of the nationals, many of whom had questions as to what will be the next step, why has this information not been given, and throughout the day, one of the main concerns that we've heard from the nationals is that there has not been enough information being given out, and also that it's not been given out in a timely manner. But they did receive the news a short while ago, and for those standing behind me right now, perhaps wondering what will be their next step now, as they've been told they'll not be allowed to register. So that's what's happening outside of the Achiever Banquet Hall here in San Fernando. I'm Janine Brown for TTT News.
And over in Tobago, a similar situation occurred. TTT News spoke to one migrant who said information was slow in coming, but thanked Tobagonians for their hospitality.
We are waiting for the authorities to communicate what is the next step that we are going to take. But so far, we being told that is good news is we're going to have.
So you are optimistic?
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are.
And what's the feeling amongst your countrymen right now that are waiting to line up in queue for registration?
Well, I believe I can talk in generally. Everybody's waiting for the same thing, to have a different, decent quality of life. The Tobagonians, as I said before, be very nice and kind to all the Venezuelan community. We appreciate and thanks for all the help we have been get from them. Also the Trinidadian, for sure.